The societal gold standard for concentration in deep work looks exactly like this. The assumption here is simple mathematics. Eliminate external stimuli, and you maximize the brain's available cognitive bandwidth for the task at hand. But cognitive psychology identifies a paradox for the hyperactive mind. For this cognitive profile, absolute silence acts as a barrier to focus, rather than a catalyst for it. Look at the internal response to a silent room. Without external input, the brain generates its own noise, anxiety, and a barrage of overlapping, chaotic, jagged scribbles. This exact environment creates a sensory vacuum, where the highly active brain is left without external data to process. To navigate this vacuum, high-functioning hyperactive individuals often rely on a specific strategy, the requirement of background noise to work or relax. This usually involves a humming, oscillating fan, a familiar podcast, or a television show playing on a loop. When this noise is introduced, internal chaos and overlapping thoughts tend to order themselves into a forward-moving trajectory. Working with a podcast or TV on is often labeled a sign of an attentional deficit or a lack of discipline. However, clinical observation points to a framework known as the distraction from distraction theory. This theory defines the behavior as a targeted, unconscious mechanism the brain uses to achieve sensory regulation. Predictable background noise operates as a mechanical tool to occupy excess cognitive capacity, preventing the hyperactive mind from derailing its own focus. To see why excess capacity distracts in silence, we can map the mechanics of cognitive load. This model represents cognitive bandwidth as an engine with 5 parallel processing tracks. During a task like reading, a neurotypical brain allocates resources by activating 3 tracks. The remaining 2 tracks go dark. In this model, the brain powers down unused resources to prioritize the main objective. A hyperactive brain operates under different constraints. It possesses excess processing capacity that lacks an off switch. In a silent environment, these active, unused tracks have no external data to process. This lack of data forces the excess tracks to turn inward for stimulation. This inward turn generates internal noise, appearing as overthinking or anxiety that interferes with the primary task. The resulting internal overload occurs because the brain's excess tracks actively disrupt the primary focus. Neutralizing this overload requires routing external artificial stimuli into the cognitive model. Here, a smooth auditory waveform, like a fan or a podcast, enters the system and is routed explicitly into those 2 erratic excess tracks. This is the distraction from distraction theory. Background noise provides a low-stakes task for excess capacity. Processing external audio satisfies the requirement for stimulation. The blue waveform replaces the red spikes, stopping the bleed. With excess capacity occupied, primary tracks are insulated, processing without internal interference. The brain essentially keeps its chaotic sectors busy with non-critical data. For a hyperactive system, introducing a secondary distraction becomes the method for safeguarding primary focus. However, not all background noise provides this protective effect. Consider an unpredictable audio source, like a new television drama or a loud, unscripted conversation. Look at how this jagged, erratic audio waveform interacts with the processing model. Processing novel information demands higher-order attention and executive function. Because this noise requires active decoding, it breaks the insulation barrier, hijacking the bandwidth needed for the primary task. Successful background noise is governed by the predictability heuristic. Apply this to a desk fan or a TV show the individual has seen 10 times. Familiar noise is the ideal candidate for sensory regulation because it offers no surprises. A predictable baseline occupies excess bandwidth without requiring executive resources to decode new information. The choice of monotonous or familiar background noise is a requirement for maintaining a state of flow in this specific architecture. When we zoom out, we can see the full effect of sensory regulation on the hyperactive mind. This split screen shows the 2 states. On the left, silence leads to internal erratic spikes. On the right, a smooth buffer waveform protects the system. Standard academic and professional environments often mandate silence as the only acceptable environment for work. Applying strict sensory elimination to a hyperactive architecture often severs the very focus it aims to protect. This explains the mismatch between societal expectations and those who work with headphones on or TVs running. Wearing headphones or running TV during deep work reflects an intuitive mastery of cognitive load. Background noise is a strategy for cognitive resource management, allowing the brain to align its resources toward a single goal. In a modern workspace, a television playing in the background serves a specific purpose. It is the physical application of the distraction from distraction theory. The hyperactive mind uses this external sensory anchor to keep its excess processing power from disrupting the primary task. Predictable noise establishes a stable baseline. This baseline provides the stabilization required for high-functioning executive processing to continue without internal interference. For a chaotic mind, absolute silence can become the ultimate distraction, while familiar noise provides the structure needed to maintain focus.